All right, so LevelCap here with Matt Higby. He hasn't had any coffee this morning, so I'm going to try him with some really hard questions right now. But first of all, Matt, why don't you tell us, the viewers, what you do at Sony?
I am the creative director for Planetside 2, which means that I'm responsible for the design of the game and the overall design team, and for doing interviews and stuff.
Awesome. All right, so my channel has grown from the Battlefield 3 community. That's basically 99% of my subscribers at this point.
Yeah.
What do you think Planetside has to offer for the Battlefield players?
Well, I love Battlefield. I really enjoyed, I don't know if I'm going to piss off all the hardcore Battlefield players. I love Battlefield 2. I love BC2. I like BF3. I know there's a lot of like BF3 hate out there, but I like BF3 quite a bit too. I think for people who are long-term fans of the Battlefield franchise who really love BF2, you're going to be able to get that level of coordination again. You're going to be able to get that like team play aspect that Battlefield 3, because a lot of emphasis on kind of more run and gun and more lone wolfing, kind of is more of a solo-friendly experience, I think. Planetside 2 is very much not a solo-friendly experience. You can solo in Planetside 2, but the game shines and really comes alive when you're able to get together with a group of people and coordinate and work together and try to accomplish these massive goals. Planetside 2 also has a scale and a scope that's completely unrivaled and unprecedented. I mean, as you know, and anybody who's seen any of your videos on your channel has seen, there's no other games, no other shooter games in the world that come close to Planetside 2 in terms of scale. And that, I think, for a lot of people who are interested in playing Battlefield for that feeling of being within a war, I mean, they do such a good job of making you feel like you're someplace with having explosions happening in the distance and cutscenes as things fly overhead. In Planetside 2, when explosions are happening in the distance and vehicles are flying overhead, that's not cutscenes. Those are all players that you can blow up, and they're actually doing things to you. So that feel of scale and scope and really being surrounded by a roiling, unyielding battle is, I think, what Planetside really excels at, and I think that that's one of the things that a lot of people who are Battlefield players would really appeal to them.
Awesome, man. I totally agree. And on the same lines there, it is interesting how you guys walk the line between, you're Mr. Teamwork. You're like, anything teamwork, you're going to put it in the game and you're going to get that done. Along the same lines, I found it a little bit more difficult to get some of the casual players on board with it, because they're like, well, I just kind of want to run around and shoot at stuff, maybe not deal with this 12-man squad who's telling me where to go and what to do. I know you're coming out with some Spawn updates that are probably going to help out with those casual players. Are there any other things in the works or ideas that you think can make it a little more casual friendly?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've talked a lot in the past about a mission system. We have some aspects of it implemented, and some aspects are still going to be coming. But that essentially allows people who are more player commander type people to say, hey, I need tanks in this area. And if you're a tank player and you're solo, you're not in an outfit or anything else, but you just want to have a really cool tank battle today, you can look and see where people are requesting tank support and just drive over there and go blow some dudes up with your tank. Another thing that we have in the game is our hotspot system, the instant action system. And for a really long time in beta, that has been all fucked up. It just wasn't working properly. It was taking you to places that you weren't able to actually do anything in. In our game, there's territory, and if you don't have, your empire doesn't have a connection to that territory, you can't even fight there. But the hotspot system was like saying, okay, here's some places where you can go fight, and
or you'd end up in the middle of the desert with nobody around you for some reason.
Or it just didn't work. Yeah, so I mean, we fixed a lot of those issues, and actually as of right now, on the beta server, the instant action system should be doing a much better job of putting you in places that are really relevant for you, and putting you in places where you can fight. So that one of those goals is to basically, right from the get-go, when you jump into the game, you can just hit one button and a couple seconds later you're into a giant battle with other people. And from that point, whether you want to be in a group or not, whether you want to be in an outfit or not, you could still follow along with those guys, you know? You can still run around as an infiltrator and just be sniping from back behind the lines. And then, I mean, I've seen some of your videos where you're talking about doing just that, where you're fighting in a big fight, but you're not necessarily playing with a coordinated group. You're just getting some kills with light assault character while you're running around doing that. That's totally viable. And yeah, I am really, really passionate about team play. To me, as a game designer, the thing that really makes me excited about Planetside 2 is the opportunity for advancing what it means to have team play and what coordination is capable of in video games. No other games allow you to have hundreds of players coordinating towards accomplishing objectives. But at the same time, we want the game to be friendly to everybody. We want you to be able to jump in and have a kick-ass, awesome experience without ever talking to anybody else if you don't want to. If you just want to jump in, I mean, when I was stressed out at work for a long time, what I would do is I would just go play Operation Metro 64 player and just spam kills. It's the stupidest, most mindless. Yeah, exactly. And the servers are always called meat grinder because that's exactly what it is, right?
Right on that one.
Yeah, you just sit there and you get 80 kills and you get like, well, for me at least, I get like 80 deaths and 80 kills and 50,000 points because you get all the ribbons and stuff. I would always just put the tugs somewhere, so I'm just getting motion assist, mine assist the entire time. But it's just mindless entertainment at that point.
Good way to let off steam.
Exactly, and with Planetside 2, with the scale that it's at, there's always tons of targets for you to be firing at. You can be moving with this group of people. You're not stuck looking at the exact same location every time, so you can have that kind of, I just want to grind out a bunch of kills experience, but not really have to worry about it too much experience too. It's going to be a little bit more diverse, because as the fight progresses on, you're going to be fighting over completely different landforms. You're not just going to be fighting up the stairs in Metro every single time. You can have that gameplay experience, but now it's nighttime when you're doing it. Now it's daytime when you're doing it. It's all these different sorts of things that make it a little bit more dynamic than just logging into the same server and doing the same thing over and over.
Yeah, it's very difficult to try and recreate the exact same battle twice in Planetside. I've been playing the beta since I first got in early on in beta days. The gameplay has changed so much from galaxy spawn points to everybody spamming maxes, and now to more infantry heavy stuff. Are you guys happy with where the gameplay is now, or do you think there's some bigger tweaks that are going to come and change things up significantly?
In terms of new additions to gameplay, there's only a couple things that are really going to be coming between now and launch. We're going to have orbital strikes coming in. Orbital strikes for us aren't like the Planetside orbital strikes for anybody who's familiar with those. They're more like the arty strikes in BFBC 2.
Okay.
So a little bit smaller scale, you can call them in, and they're more just for displacement. If there's a bunch of guys stacked up behind a rock somewhere, you can call in an arty strike there and force them to disperse a little bit. I think that'll actually change things around quite a bit. As we're adding new weapons, I mean, a week ago we just added all the new heavy assault weapons, and that sort of changed stuff for, at least for the NC and the TR. It didn't change anything for the VS because their weapon's useless right now, so it didn't really change anything about how they play. But
no, I've been dying a lot to that new TR weapon on the hillsides. It's pretty intense.
It is, and I mean, we're going to continue tuning stuff, but in terms of major adjustments to the core gameplay aspects, I feel like we're pretty dialed in. We still have a little bit of a minor adjustment, iteration, and tuning to do with all that stuff. Time to kill is probably pretty close to where it's going to be. Amount of vehicles in the game, probably pretty close to where it's going to be. There's some minor tweaks to like the availability of Sunderers being able to spam. I don't know if you've been in that situation where like 50 Sunderers can show up to a fight and all deploy, and now you'll never get rid of those guys who are attacking that base.
Yeah, it's impossible.
Yeah, so we're adding some things like that to sort of make the spawn logistics require a little bit more planning and a little bit more strategy on everybody's part, rather than just let's bring as many as possible and zerg it. But yeah, I think the core gameplay is pretty close to where it's going to be at launch, and then it'll continue to be iterated and added to for years to come.
Awesome. All right, I've been pitching at least one idea to every dev out there, because this is my chance. I don't have to get trolled by all the forum guys on the Planetside beta forums, but here's my idea for making casual gameplay a little bit more friendly for some of the guys that get in there. For myself and some other players I know that are pretty darn good at shooters, we get in there, we get light assault, we get over the base of wall base, kill 10 guys, take down a generator, switch to pistol, run out of ammo with everything, and then just go die somewhere.
I've seen this video where you're asking for more ammo before.
Oh, you've seen that? Okay.
Is that the idea?
No.
Okay.
I know you put in the ammo certs and stuff, which I'm just all over. I'm ranking those up first thing. Good. But here's my concept. What if you have a pod drop system that you can call for ammo, but it's going to cost you some resources?
We have actually talked about doing exactly that kind of stuff, where you could call in those type of resources. Like you said, that's for people who are really interested in being able to play solo, being able to kind of go do their own thing. I don't think that there's necessarily a huge problem with that. The issue is making sure that doesn't step too much on the toes of the support classes.
Right.
If you could call in a healing terminal that healed you, now you don't really need to have a medic with you, and medics just lose value on the battlefield. There's some degree of that kind of stuff that I think is possible, and it depends on like how often you can do it. One of the things that we have in the game is squad spawn beacons. Squad spawn beacons let your squad leader, if you cert up, you can place this beacon, and now anybody in your squad can spawn on that beacon. Right now, anybody in your squad can place the beacons, but eventually it's just going to be the squad leaders that can place those things.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. You heard it here first, or maybe second if you read my forum post the other day.
No, I read it. Wait, so I think I misread it. So I thought that there was going to be a special squad spawn beacon, but then everybody was going to have an individual beacon also?
No.
It's just squad leaders.
Just squad leaders are going to have it. So if you're a squad leader, you're going to be able to have that beacon. If you have it certed, you're going to have it. It doesn't take a tool slot. It doesn't use up the. You can still bring med kits with you if you're doing that.
Okay.
But the one of the problems with balancing that is we don't want that to become the way you spawn. We still want spawn logistics like Sunderers, and eventually we're going to bring back spawning on galaxies.
Yeah.
We still want those things to be needed and necessary. So with the squad spawning thing, we let you have a squad spawn, but the timer on it's longer, so you can't use it every time you want to respawn unless you're always living for more than 5 minutes or whatever. And in some cases, you're going to die sooner than that, and you're going to need a Sunderer to spawn back on instead. Plus, they're really vulnerable. So we need to have those kind of trade-offs built in there, because we can make things be convenient. We can make convenience be in the game, like being able to have the pod that drops you down ammo or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need to make sure that it doesn't materially impact the team play and logistical aspects of the game.
Strategy in there.
That's right.
Early on in the beta, you had the spawning on any squad mate option in the game with a cooldown. Rather than tweaking that, you guys seem to just get rid of it because there's such a negative feedback. Is that true, or? It
wasn't because of negative feedback necessarily. I mean, there was some negative feedback about it. Really what it was we wanted to have very large squads. When you have really, really big squads, having squad spawning becomes really difficult if you ever want to be able to stamp out that group of people. If you have small squads, if you have a 4-man squad or something, it's kind of easy for you to rip those 4 guys out and then not worry about them squad spawning there anymore.
What if you broke the 12-man squad into 4-man fire teams?
And then you could only spawn on your fire team?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some people have asked for things like that too, but at that point, it's like, well, we have platoons that are made up of squads, and where you have these different permissions within them kind of becomes convoluted, you know? So we wanted to keep it nice and simple and say, okay, squads have these abilities to do things with each other. They gain additional experience for reviving each other, for doing assists with each other. Some of those aspects are getting implemented. A lot of our experience system stuff is still having some additions put into it to be able to reinforce team play and squad gameplay a little bit more too. But yeah, I mean, the real reason behind doing that was because we wanted to make it be something that you as an attacker could go find and take out. That's why we have these beacons that actually have a beam in them. And when you see a beam over there, you know, okay, I can go take out that thing, and it's going to prevent guys from being able to respawn on it. Versus if you have 12 guys that are just running around all over the base, it's so hard to get rid of those guys. Planetside's a game about controlling spawns. The real gameplay is I need to take out the place where these guys are spawning from and then push them back so that they're not spawning on the base that I'm spawning on. And then I need to create spawn points closer to their base so that I can push forward and capture that. And then eventually that's my new spawn point and I can push out from there. Or they can come back and take it back. It's a real tug-of-war game, and really it's about controlling spawns. And having people being able to spawn on any one of their squad mates anywhere on the map at any time was really breaking down the I hate saying predictability because you want the game to be unpredictable, but it was breaking down the kind of feeling of, is it safe for us to move out now? Have we defended this base adequately, and now we can move forward?
Gotcha.
If you don't have that feeling, then there's no structure at all anymore. So I guess maybe rather than saying it got rid of the predictability, it destroyed the structure of here's what we're doing now, okay, and now we're moving on to this next thing. We're clearing out the spawn points, now we're going to push forward and attack them. With guys constantly respawning in completely unpredictable ways, it was really hard for there to be any structure there.
Okay, I hear you. I have some ideas on that, but for the sake of time and for getting you some coffee, I think we'll wrap things up here. Thanks for talking to me, and thanks for working on an awesome game. I think it's going to be an incredible launch.
Thanks, man.
All right.